So here is my hyperbaric oxygen chamber. I have opened up the door. As you can see, it is a polycarbonate type material, plexiglass polycarbonate, something like that. It has these handy little rough surface dots that you can use to push things back and forth. It has another one on this side. So sometimes when it closes, you really have to push kind of hard to get it open, but that's what those are for, and they're very handy. As you can see, it's the MACY-PAN hyperbaric chamber. Comes with a control panel. You can set a timer for how long you want your treatment. If you want to set the timer, you don't have to. You have your on-off. That will, I'll turn it on in a minute. Your on-off buttons, and you have your on-off for the whole system. You also have a communication system, which I actually, since I use it by myself, I don't need. But you can lift this up and communicate with the person that's on the inside, and then there's also the ability to communicate from the inside. And I'll show you where that is real quick. Right here we have the RL communication system, and you can communicate from there. So getting back just to the outside look real quick. This little box here, this little assembly here, contains the oxygen concentrator and a cooler. Now, if you live in really warm areas, what you may want to do is actually set up a air conditioning unit with it. The air conditioning unit would probably be about, well, maybe half of this box. It's a pretty small, actually maybe a third of this little box here. So it's a smaller unit, but being that I always have the air conditioning on inside my house, I don't really need it because it can get pretty cold, and I'm actually more of a warm person. Anything below 70 is too cold for me. So you would be able to hook those up to these two connectors, and that's why these are empty. But as you see, everything else connects here, and it's all indicated. So for instance, we have the general power button, we have the cooler. So the general power button, which also gets the oxygen concentrator on. This gets the cooler on, and then, as I said, air and door and oxygen and just electrical connections, fuses, that's all there. You don't have to worry about that. It's all color-coded, as you see. And then on the back of the unit, you have the same connectors. So there's one for the door, there's a sensor. These are your ATA plugs. You have 1.3 ATA and 1.5 ATA. That's the depth that you would do the dive on, as they call it, the dive. It's the compression of the chamber. And then there's also a additional spare port for oxygen if you want to add a second oxygen concentrator, which is what I have done. So I will show you over here. I purchased a NIDEC unit, and it actually comes with a 3-year warranty, and it's very simple. You just turn it on, you wait until the light turns steady. It goes flashing green. Once it's steady, it's on. It's 10 liters per minute. And as you see, the connector goes, and the blue tubes are the oxygen. So the connector goes to that spare plug, as I indicated before, spare plug. And then if you go on the inside, you connect the plug to that spare plug right there. Unfortunately, the cables that they sent me from the NIDEC unit are a little bit long, so I'm still kind of struggling with that. But I did get the connector. So here's where the original oxygen breathing unit comes in. So you have the connector, and so one comes through here. The second one, which is connected to where I showed you before, down there, the green cable is connected here. And then this plug goes to the breathing unit that you use to breathe in the oxygen. So I have actually several different units. This happens to be a headset type unit, and it's kind of like you have the microphone in front of you, and then the air comes out of the headset here. I'm a little bit too close right there. So that is actually a unit I use intermittently. The other thing that I have is a regular face mask. And this is basically a rebreather. In other words, you're breathing in approximately 92%, 93% oxygen. But you're also breathing it out. So you're constantly breathing in and breathing out. So you're actually not quite getting that high of oxygen concentration, because it's constantly being mixed with the air that's already in the unit. So the other way to go about it is to get what is called a non-rebreather. And so the air actually fills into the bag, and you get 92 or 93, however much your two concentrators will produce, into the mask, and then you are breathing out of the mask through these holes here. And so there's no mix. So whatever comes in is not pure oxygen, but whatever the highest oxygen concentration you can achieve with your two oxygen concentrators. And then you breathe it out here. So this is the one that you get the most oxygen with. But although generally you don't really have to worry about oxygen toxicity, if I use this, I will use it for probably about 25 minutes and then take it off for about 5 minutes, just to give my system a little bit of a break. But it's a very good unit to use. And then, as I said, after a while when using masks, sometimes you might get a little bit of a skin rash, or if it's really dry outside anyway, you may not always want to have a mask in your face. And so then that's when I go to my headset type unit. And that works really wonderful too. And I would guess that I'm still, because I have it right at my nasal passages, so it's pretty much going straight into my nose. And I would guess I still get probably about 88% oxygen straight in. The other thing I like about this unit is, well, it's simplicity. It's like anybody can operate it. So for instance, you have the valves that show you what the pressure is that you have. So 1.5 ATA will go to 50. I think it's Kelvin or something. I can't remember what the key PA stands for, but it's 50 is what it is. It stops at 50. And here's the emergency release, or the release from the inside. So when you make sure that you're going to go in the chamber, always make sure that this is closed when you hit the decompression or the compression, so that the pressure actually can build up. And if for any reason you can't, get out fast enough or whatever, you would use the emergency button. And the cool thing, of course, is that you have the same valves on the inside. So I've never used this, obviously. I hope to never have to use it. But what I like about the manual valve is that you can actually control how fast the chamber then decompresses when you're done with your, with your dive. And there's also a gauge inside that shows you how much the pressure is. So on the inside, well, let's start from the outside. Sorry. So I'm just going to turn on the cooler and the power button and the O2. And then just, that's something aside. I got myself a little thing on the side that fit perfectly. So you see my setup is all along the wall. And then that's where my oxygen concentrator is, and that's pretty much where the wall ends. So the entire wall side here is, and I put a little bit of carpet so it's more comfortable when you come out of the unit. And anyway, I put this, so I have some extra masks that they send you. They send you this little kit, so I put that on top, and it's just all well organized in this little thing. I got that off of Amazon. So basically, once you start your power buttons going, you would press here, and then it would start lighting up in the blue numbers. Now, I know in the video the numbers are blinking like crazy, but in actuality the numbers are steady. And that's just because the camera, I think, perceives the pixelation too much. So this gives you the temperature, which is 23 degrees Celsius. This is a relative humidity, 57. And then we have 21% oxygen, and the kPa is at 0, so there's no diving going on, there's no compression going on. So here's a timer button. If you put the timer button on, you have to get past the off thing, or else it'll wipe this back out. But you can set it for wherever, however long you want to go, and then that's what the system will do. And if you're operating it from the outside, you would use these buttons. But since I always go inside, I'll show you how you do it when you're by yourself. And the other thing I want to point out is what I really love is these handles that MACYPAN has installed. So I'm going to step back so you can see these are actual handles. Okay, and the same over here. So as you go in, depending on, you know, how tall you are or how easy of a time you have to go into a chamber, you may need like a footstool. I'm pretty tall, I'm 6 foot tall, so I don't need a footstool. And I just kind of step in. I hold with my hand right here, and then I can lower my body in. Now, I have put a pillow that kind of raises my, my knees a little bit. So I'm going to slide in, and then you can see how my positioning is for the legs. And down there, what this is a cooler, a little internal fan, I should say. And the controls for it are over here on the control panel. And I'll try to show you real briefly how this works with the compression. So you make sure that you bring the door all the way to the end point, so it can't go any further. And at that point, you are pretty much ready to go with your dive. So you would hit work, and then that brings down the door. There went the door. And now it's starting to do the compression. So you always want to double check on your valve over here whether it's closed. So we know here it's all the way on closed, so the chamber can go ahead and do the compression. And the other thing you want to do is turn on the oxygen. The oxygen flow from the MACYPAN unit will go on, and then the oxygen flow from the other unit, since I have connected them now, as I showed you before on this connection. will also come on, so there will be quite a lot of air coming out. You could probably hear the hissing of the camera. You just kind of relax, and you can look at the gauge and see how the pressure increases, and you can continue to swallow. Normally you'd have the oxygen on you, but I don't want to do that because I want to be able to talk. So you would have the oxygen on, and you just kind of watch the pressure going up, or you don't bother looking at it if you don't want to. It takes about, I think I timed it before, it takes about a minute to a minute and a half to get up to the 50, which is the 1.5 APA. And what you do is you just keep swallowing or yawning to equalize the pressure in your ear. So as you can see, I'm continuing to talk through this, so this is really not anything difficult. If you have a hard time, maybe chewing gum might be helpful, because that gets you a little bit more involved. But yeah, it's really not that bad. And if you're a little bit warm, you can certainly get the fan going. You see down there, that's the fan, so I can feel the air coming this way towards me, but I don't really need it because, as I said, my air conditioning is pretty cool in the house, and so I don't need the fan, and I really don't need the air conditioner either. But again, if you live in a hot area and you don't run your air conditioner fully, then it's probably best to get the air conditioning unit with the whole assembly, so you have it all together. And just as I said, putting it together has been real easy, so there's no problem. I'm very comfortable having my knees at a slightly supported, but you can also, you don't need it. It's just something I happen to have. You can either roll up a towel if you like to have your knees supported, or if you like to lie flat. It's equally comfortable. It's just how you feel any given day. So I'm going to stop the video for a second.